Hey, and welcome back to the Sugar Bear Working videos. We are on our sixth. My design wall is over there. Sixth block, and it's Miss Rita Mae. Rita Mae, and she is pretty simple. My second favorite block, I think. Just a little snowballing to do. Pretty basic, but I think she has like a big visual statement. If I had put a solids right here, which I think I'm going to end up doing on my next one, if I had put solids right here, I think I would have quilted little flower petals in here, because to me this block looks kind of like a flower right into here. I've distracted that with these bright turquoise snowball corners, but on my other one it looked really flower-like. All right, I'm starting to ramble, so let's get to the video. So Rita Mae is actually probably my second favorite block. I really like it because of this just big centerpiece that they have in all of these corners. And when you put it together, it looks like this little flower type thing, and it's just a favorite of mine. So anyway, obviously if I had fussy cutting fabrics, I would fussy cut it, but I don't. So I'm just kind of doing what I always do, trying to pick something. And my thinking is that I still haven't used this fabric or even this fabric as far as the centers go. But I really don't like any of those options for that one. I like having like solid or tonal in that space. So I'm kind of going towards this one, but although I don't think it's even going to be an option for me because I don't think I have enough. Second choice I think is this one. I am really all over the place. I wish one of you was here with me and just helping me pick these out, because I can be really indecisive. I hope I'm not the only indecisive person out there. The only fabrics I'm gonna have, since they're such bigger pieces, the only fabrics I'm gonna have enough of to work, because I did start with less than I should have, you know, is this one, this one, and I think I'd have enough of this one. So these are really my three options for, I'm looking over here at my design wall. These are my three options for that big centerpiece. And if I use any one of these, because there's so much white on them, I almost have to use this or this to make it work. The only thing that I have other than that is that turquoise that I pulled, that I used as my cornerstones. But I feel like if I put that in this block, it's just going to kind of throw everything off. Although I could use it on these little bee fabric triangles. So that's a thought. I don't want to do that though, because I think it'll pull the eye. Although when I drew it up, I did use this fabric, so just a little thought that I could use this and that. Maybe. I think I will. Even though I didn't plan on doing that, sometimes these things just take you where you didn't intend on going. So let me get this cut up. I'm going to use these. I'm all cut. Okay, just one thing I want to throw out there before I move forward is that I had originally wasn't going to use this fabric in the blocks. I'm using it as cornerstone 1. Is it 1 I'm using it for? Yeah, cornerstone 1. And I didn't want to use it. I think it will distract if I use it in the blocks, but I'm only using it in a really tiny spot. You know, it'll end up being right here. But because I'm doing this, I'm definitely going to feel the need to use it at least one more time, maybe just a little tiny bit in one of the blocks or two of the blocks, just so you're not pulled, your eyes aren't pulled from all the blocks into this bright fabric that's sticking out of only one of them. Does that make sense? Obviously this is just my opinion, but I feel like if you use it in one block, you got to use it in another block. So just keep that in mind. A tiny look into what I always am thinking about in my head when I make a quilt. Okay, moving on. If you are using a directional print or a fussy cut, you're gonna want to lay these out like this. Obviously I don't need to because my fabrics don't have a direction, and it doesn't matter, you know, how I do this. They're all gonna end up in the right place. But if you are using fussy cut, you'll wanna do this like this. All right, and one more thing, and I know I keep mentioning this in my videos, I worry about beginners getting confused. So do go by your pattern. Your pattern says to draw a line on the diagonal of all of these squares, but I use diagonal seam tape on my sewing machine where I can skip this step. So if you have it, I think there's a link for it in the pattern. If you don't have it, or sometimes you have those little lasers on your machines, you may have that. You may have other ways of marking your line, but don't eyeball this. This is not an eyeball moment. Draw your line. If you don't have one of those little cheater methods. Snowball units, and that's what we're working on, a snowball unit, are notorious for coming up short when it comes to size. So you want to do everything that you can to combat that way snowball units have of doing that. So one way I combat it is to starch everything and try to make perfect cuts, and I try to perfectly place this where it needs to go on my A square. I'll try to be just so about it, because even after I've been quilting for what, 13 years, and I still struggle with snowball units. I know what I'm doing with them, but they're very rarely perfect in size. So just something I want to put out there. Okay, so top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. This is the way they'll end up looking. So you'll end up doing this. Now the way I'll do this is I'll take them, I won't leave them like this because this is just to show you. I will take them all. It's not gonna matter which way my fabric A pieces are done. What I will do, and I'm doing this part especially for beginners, I'll take them like this, and I'll put one of these on here like this, and I'll send it through the machine, and then I'll chain piece all of these the same way. Then I'll rotate it, do this one, and then do this corner too after that. So, and then I'll bring it all back, you know, for pressing and ironing. So let me get these all stitched on here, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so let's get our snowballing on, and there will be a separate video tutorial in your pattern that really goes into how this is done, but it's basically this. Pretty easy to figure out, hard to get perfect, but we just do the best we can. I'm gonna do that for the rest of these. All right, so when I press these right after I sewn them, so my seams are already set. So now we just go along doing this. We want to make sure that we don't leave a little lip, and we want to make sure that we're not doing this number. We just press, and no, they don't lay flat, but starch is going to help. So I'm picking up my iron and I'm dropping it back down. I'm not sliding across anything. So I'm gonna keep going. All right, so I am starched. I have actually starched the bejesus out of them. All right. And as careful as I was, I'm still seeing a few things. Let me show you. You see that? Now when I sew this to whatever unit it gets sewn to, I need to go by this line, because that's the line that I know is exactly the size I need this unit to be, where these can get off a hair. So obviously I'm going to have to do a little stitching that is not going to have a perfect 1/4 inch. It's going to be a little off because I need to sew it, you know, right along here. Just something to think about. It's such a tiny little amount that it's not going to mess you up completely. But if you're sitting there looking at a piece and you've done exactly this, and you're wondering where do I start stitching, you want to use this edge, not this edge. So just a tiny tip. usually it doesn't matter. You get it put in there and it works out. It'll be close enough. All right, what do we need? We need our little half rectangle triangle. So let me see which one I want to use. I hope I'm not going to regret using this bright turquoise. Fingers crossed. A lot of times it's always just fingers crossed. And just hopefully it turns out looking good. Not this one because it'll be too much green. So one of these three. I'm feeling this one. I am really feeling that one. This one would be cute. But I'm going to save it. I'm going to save these two. All right. Wait, we're going with this one. All right. Let's get ready. This vintage lace background is a lot prettier than that ivory I used on the other quilt. It may just be with these fabrics, but because on that other one was really, really orange, so I kind of used a solid that kind of leaned orange. But this one has a little sweetness to this color that I think really goes with this pink very nicely. I spend a lot of time thinking about white solids. Okay, you know the drill from here. Let's get this unit made. All right, I am all sewn up and I'm just double checking that I don't have any of these little units turned the wrong way. Everything's looking good. I'm a little off in quite a few places, but that's gonna be fine. I'm gonna hide all that in the seam allowance. So don't give yourself a hard time if you're making these little tiny snowball errors. It happens to every one of us. Let me grab my sashing and cornerstones. All right, you know what to do. Let's get this put together. All right, and there we have Rita Mae. So all done. This is one of my favorite blocks. I really, really love this block. I like this design. I like how it makes this little X or some kind of funky flower maybe. Yeah, all right. I'll see you next block.